You could be the safest driver on the road, the kind who uses your turn signal, who never tailgates, who keeps an emergency kit in the trunk, who slows down when it rains, who's been driving the same route to the grocery store and the clinic for 20 years. And still, in the next few weeks, one simple, ordinary drive could turn into a ticket you never saw coming, points you didn't even know you earned, an insurance increase that feels like a punch to the stomach, and the kind of letter in the mail that makes you stare at the kitchen table thinking, how did this happen to me? If you're over 60, this is not just about a fine. This is about independence. It's about whether you can keep driving yourself to the pharmacy, to your grandchild's recital, to your cardiology appointment, to the life you built. And today, I'm going to walk you through the exact pattern I'm seeing across the country. Tighter enforcement, updated interpretations of existing traffic laws, and a few quiet rule changes that hit careful older drivers the hardest because they punish what you've been doing the normal way for decades. I'm also going to show you how to protect yourself not only on the road, but financially. Because when a single ticket triggers a chain reaction, higher premiums, unexpected bills, stress spending, skipping medications, this becomes a senior's benefits problem, not just a driving problem. And please stay with me, because near the end, I'm going to share the #1 hidden protection that most seniors never hear about. A move that can sometimes prevent one ticket from turning into years of higher costs, and it has nothing to do with buying a fancy device or living in fear. Before we go further, I want you to comment your age and your biggest struggle right now. Just be simple and honest. Are you dealing with medical bills, expensive prescriptions, rent, groceries, retirement timing, caregiving, or scams and identity theft? Write 71 prescriptions or 66 rent or 74 driving anxiety. I read these and it tells me what to cover next. And one important note, this is educational information based on publicly available guidance from state DMVs, Departments of Transportation, and national safety resources. Laws vary by state and even by city, and nothing here is legal advice. The goal is to help you ask the right questions, check the right official sources, and protect your independence. Now let's talk about what's really happening, because I don't want you panicked, I want you prepared. Across the U.S., many states and local jurisdictions have been tightening enforcement priorities in predictable hot zones that catch older drivers, work zones, merge ramps, phone-in-hand distracted driving, crosswalk yield rules, and following distance, plus a huge one that almost nobody talks about in a senior-friendly way, prescription medications and impairment suspicion. Some of these rules have existed for years on paper, but what changes people's lives is not what's written in a handbook. It's what gets enforced on Tuesday morning at 9:12 a.m. when you're just trying to get to an appointment on time. When enforcement shifts, the roads feel like they changed overnight, even if the statute didn't. That's why so many careful drivers say, I didn't even know that was illegal. And if you're over 60, you're more likely to drive in daylight hours when patrols are active, more likely to keep the phone in your hand just for directions, more likely to be managing medications that can affect reaction time, and more likely to feel the financial impact of any surprise bill because many seniors are on fixed incomes. Let me tell you about a woman named Linda, 72, who lives alone and prides herself on doing things the right way. Linda isn't reckless. She's not weaving through traffic. She's not racing anyone. She's the kind of driver who lets others merge. But Linda got cited in a work zone on a highway she'd driven for years. She told me, there weren't even workers out. That detail matters because for a long time, many drivers carried an old mental rule. The extra penalties only matter when workers are present. In some states, signage used to emphasize that. But the enforcement reality in many places now is much simpler and much harsher. If the area is marked as a work zone and the reduced speed is posted, the expectation is that you obey it fully all the time, whether you see workers or not. Work zone penalties are often higher, and officers frequently have little patience for "I didn't see anyone." Linda wasn't just upset about the fine. She was terrified about points and insurance because her budget was already tight. And that's the first big truth I want you to hold on to today. A ticket doesn't just cost what the ticket costs. The real cost is often what happens after: insurance, stress, and sometimes a cascade that touches your healthcare and your benefits. So let's get very practical, very calm, and very specific about the biggest areas where seniors get caught off guard. And I'll keep repeating the safest principle in modern driving. The sign, the lane markings, and the statute matter more than what you usually see. In work zones, treat the first sign as your trigger, not the sight of cones or workers. When you see the reduced speed posted, bring your speed down promptly and keep it there until you pass the end work zone sign. If you wait to slow down until you see activity, you're gambling with your record. And I know that sounds dramatic, but the difference between a clean record and one moving violation can be hundreds of dollars a year for some people, and for seniors, that's not extra spending money. That can be groceries or copays. Now we move into the rule area that creates disbelief, especially for experienced drivers: merging. Many older drivers learn to drive in an era with less congestion, shorter lines of aggressive commuters, and a different culture on the road. A common older habit is to slow way down at the end of an on-ramp because it feels cautious, it feels safe. But modern traffic engineering and many state driver manuals emphasize a different safety mechanism: matching the speed of traffic before you merge so you don't create a dangerous speed difference. Here's the uncomfortable truth: going too slow can be just as dangerous as going too fast when you're merging into high-speed traffic. If you crawl at the merge point, you force drivers behind you to brake hard, and you force drivers on the highway to react unpredictably. In some jurisdictions, if your behavior creates a hazard, even without a collision, you can be cited under careless or unsafe operation standards. The safest habit is to use the full ramp to accelerate, signal early, choose your gap, and merge smoothly. If conditions truly make it unsafe, you yield and wait for a safe opening rather than nosing in. I'm not saying this to blame anyone. I'm saying it because this is one of those areas where I was being careful and the law sees it as creating danger, can collide, and that collision lands on your record. Now we come to the topic that has the biggest hidden impact on seniors: medications and driving. This is where I want you to feel informed, not accused. Driving impairment laws have always included substances beyond alcohol, including prescription drugs that can affect alertness, coordination, and reaction time. What changes over time is how often impairment is suspected, how testing is requested under state law, and what behaviors trigger an officer's concern. Here's the evidence-backed part that matters for adults over 60. As we age, our bodies process many medications differently. Liver metabolism and kidney clearance can slow. Body composition changes can alter how long a drug stays active. And polypharmacy, taking multiple medications, can create synergy effects that aren't obvious until you're behind the wheel. Two medications that feel fine separately can combine to produce drowsiness, delayed reaction, blurred vision, or that slightly foggy feeling you might shrug off at home, but that matters at 65 miles per hour. This isn't about shame, it's biology. It's why medication labels warn about operating machinery, and your car is heavy machinery. If you take sleep aids, anti-anxiety medications like certain benzodiazepines, opioid pain medications, some muscle relaxants, and even some antihistamines, you should treat this as a serious conversation with your doctor or pharmacist. Not because you should stop your meds, never stop or change prescriptions without medical guidance, but because timing and combinations matter. If your medication peaks during the hours you drive to appointments, there may be safer scheduling options. A pharmacist can explain which combinations are most sedating and how long the effects may last in older adults. This one conversation can protect your health and your license at the same time. Now let's talk about distracted driving, because this is the one that is quietly sweeping up seniors who believe they're doing nothing wrong. Many states have moved toward hands-free enforcement, where the issue is not just texting, not just calling, but simply holding the phone while operating the vehicle. And operating can include being stopped at a red light or stuck in traffic, depending on your state's definition. Older drivers often hold the phone low, not to text, but to glance at directions, or to see who's calling, or to keep it from sliding off the seat. The trouble is, enforcement often depends on what an officer can observe. If an officer sees a phone in your hand, you may be in the danger zone even if your intent was harmless. The best protection is behavioral. Mount the phone before you start the car, use your car's Bluetooth, and if you must touch the phone, pull over legally and park. I know that feels like extra, but it is dramatically cheaper than a ticket and the insurance shock that can follow. Parking and crosswalk distance is another area that feels petty until it happens to you. Many cities have updated intersection daylighting rules and crosswalk clearance rules to improve pedestrian visibility. Translation: the spot you've always parked in near the corner might now be too close. And here's why older drivers get hit. You're loyal to your routines, same bank, same diner, same pharmacy, same church, same corner spot. You can do everything right and still be wrong if the standard changed or if the city started enforcing it more aggressively. The fix is annoyingly simple. Park farther from the corner than you think you need to. Give yourself extra room. Even if it means a longer walk, that longer walk is cheaper than the ticket and safer for pedestrians too. Failure to yield at crosswalks is another point and record issue that can become serious quickly. Many states require drivers to yield to pedestrians in marked crosswalks, and in many places that includes unmarked crosswalks at intersections. Enforcement may focus on school zones, downtown areas, and places with senior foot traffic. If you get multiple citations in a short period, some DMVs can require a review, a course, or additional testing depending on state rules. This is where the emotional stakes spike for older adults because a review doesn't just feel like paperwork. It can feel like someone questioning your competence and your independence. The truth is, many older adults are excellent drivers, but you can still get trapped by one or two habitual mistakes that were never an issue before. Following distance is the quiet one that decides who pays when things go wrong. Older rules of thumb, like car length formulas, have largely been replaced in safety guidance by time-based spacing. In real life, the 3-second rule on dry roads and more space in bad weather isn't just a safety suggestion. It can influence how fault is viewed after a rear-end collision. If you're on a long highway corridor with changing weather, wind, rain, snow, the best legal and physical protection you can give yourself is space. Space prevents panic braking, prevents chain reactions, and prevents that one minor crash that becomes months of phone calls, repairs, medical visits, and paperwork. Now, if you've been listening and thinking, this is a lot, I'm just trying to live my life, I want to hold your hand through the next truth. This is exactly why seniors' benefits education belongs in the same conversation as driving rules. Because what happens when a ticket hits a fixed income? People do something painful and predictable, they cut something else. They delay a dental visit, they split pills, they skip a specialist follow-up, they buy cheaper food, they stop driving as much, which means fewer social visits, fewer community activities, more isolation. And isolation is a health risk all by itself. So we're not going to just talk about avoiding tickets. We're also going to talk about stabilizing your budget and building a safety net so one mistake doesn't become a crisis. This is the moment I want to ask you. If this kind of seniors first real-world guidance helps you, please tap like and subscribe and stay with me, because I'm going to share the #1 secret most seniors don't know that can keep one citation from turning into long-term damage. It's not about gaming the system. It's about using your rights and the resources that already exist for you, especially if you're living on Social Security and Medicare. Now let's talk about synergy, because this is where older adults can regain control fast. If your budget is tight, the best defense against the ticket cascade is reducing your monthly healthcare costs, because healthcare is the biggest line item for many seniors. If you qualify, Medicare savings programs through your state can help pay Part B premiums and sometimes other costs. Extra help can reduce Part D prescription costs for eligible people, sometimes dramatically. Medicaid can coordinate with Medicare for some seniors with limited income and resources, helping with costs that otherwise eat your budget alive. SNAP can help with groceries, and many states and counties have property tax relief programs for older homeowners, plus utility assistance programs that reduce seasonal spikes. When seniors stack support correctly, a surprise expense hurts less because the monthly baseline is lower. The emotional benefit is enormous. You stop feeling like you're one envelope away from going under. Let me give you a transformation story that shows what I mean. Ramon is 69, retired, and he thought benefits help was for other people. He got a distracted driving citation after picking up his phone at a long red light to check directions. He paid the fine, then his insurance renewal came and the premium jumped. That jump forced him to make choices, and the first thing he cut was prescriptions. His blood pressure became uncontrolled within weeks. His daughter finally sat down with him and said, "We are not doing this." They did two things. First, they learned how to prevent another phone-in-hand ticket by changing the habit and using amount because prevention matters. Second, they looked at his income and realized he might qualify for help with prescription costs. Ramon applied for extra help and was approved, and his Part D costs dropped enough that he could take his medications correctly again. Within a few months, his numbers stabilized, and he told me, "It wasn't just the money. It felt like someone turned the lights back on." That's what good benefits planning does. It restores compliance with healthcare, it restores stability, and it restores hope. Here's another story, because I want you to see that the turning point is often a single decision. Sharon is 74, and she drives to physical therapy twice a week. She got cited in a work zone she didn't realize was still being treated as fully active for enforcement. She felt embarrassed and angry, but more than that, she felt afraid. She worried it would trigger points, and she had heard scary stories about older drivers being reviewed. Sharon didn't spiral, she got organized. She requested the official information for her citation and looked up her state's options for addressing it. In her area, completing an approved driver improvement course and following the court's process helped her reduce the long-term damage to her record. Results vary by state, but what mattered was the mindset. She didn't ignore it, she didn't just pay and hope, she used the system correctly. And then she did something even smarter. She built a transportation backup plan in case she ever needed to reduce driving temporarily. She checked her Medicare Advantage plan benefits and found it included a limited number of rides to medical appointments. She also called her local area agency on aging and learned about senior transportation options in her county. Sharon said, "I didn't know I had a plan B." That plan B gave her emotional safety. When you have a backup, you drive calmer. Now I want to address the part nobody wants to talk about, the fear of losing the ability to drive. For many seniors, a license isn't plastic. It's identity, it's freedom, it's dignity, it's the ability to get help without having to ask. And that's why I'm urging you not to wait for a scary moment. The best time to build resilience is when you're okay. That means keeping your medical care consistent because health affects driving. Vision checks, hearing checks, medication reviews, sleep quality, hydration, and pain control all influence reaction time. It also means building a benefits and community support web so you're not forced into dangerous driving because you have no other option. If you ever reach a point where driving at night or in heavy traffic feels unsafe, it is not failure to adapt. It is wisdom to adjust. And now, the number one hidden secret. The move most seniors don't know exists, and the one that can feel revolutionary when you finally understand it, is that you often have more options than just pay the ticket or fight it alone. In many jurisdictions, there are structured pathways that can reduce long-term damage. Options like requesting a hearing, asking about diversion or deferred findings, completing an approved safety course, or seeking an amendment that keeps points off your record when appropriate. I cannot promise what your court will allow, and I'm not giving legal advice, but I am telling you this. The system often has mechanisms that recognize the difference between a dangerous pattern and an isolated mistake, and seniors who quietly pay without exploring options may be choosing the most expensive long-term outcome. The hidden power is asking, early, what options exist in your exact jurisdiction and what deadlines apply. Because once a conviction is entered and the points hit, the insurance consequences can linger. And if that ticket or premium increase triggers broader financial strain, the second hidden move is to do a benefits checkup immediately, not months later when you've already started skipping essentials. Medicare savings programs, extra help, Medicaid pathways, SNAP, and property tax relief each have their own eligibility rules and application processes. But many seniors qualify and never apply because nobody connects the dots between a financial shock and you might be eligible for ongoing help. Let me give you one more transformation story that ties all of this together. Denise is 77 and widowed. She's careful and proud. She got 2 minor citations within a year. One for parking too close to an intersection and one for a crosswalk-related yield misunderstanding. The fines were painful, but what terrified her was the feeling that she was on thin ice. Denise started driving less, which meant fewer social visits, and she got lonely. Her sleep got worse, her anxiety went up, and then her health started slipping because loneliness and stress are not just feelings. They have biological effects on the body, including higher cortisol, poorer sleep, and worse cardiovascular strain over time. Denise's turning point came when she reached out for help instead of shrinking. Her niece helped her do two things. First, they learned the updated local rules so Denise could drive confidently again without fear of accidental violations. Second, they stabilized Denise's monthly costs by applying for assistance that reduced what she was paying out of pocket for healthcare and prescriptions. Once the monthly pressure dropped, Denise didn't feel one ticket away from disaster anymore. She started attending her senior center again and said, "I feel like myself." That's the emotional outcome we're aiming for. Confidence, not constant vigilance. So here's the heart of the message today. Yes, enforcement priorities shift. Yes, some rules are interpreted more strictly than they used to be. Yes, if you drive across state lines, especially on major highways, what's normal in one state can be a ticket in another. But you are not powerless in this. You protect yourself in two ways at the same time. You tighten your driving habits in the few high-risk zones that trip up careful seniors, and you strengthen your financial foundation so a surprise expense doesn't knock you over. That combination is what gives you real independence. Not the fantasy of nothing will ever happen, but the reality of if something happens, I can handle it. If you take nothing else from this, take this calm promise into your next drive. You do not have to be perfect. You have to be prepared. Slow fully in marked work zones. Merge by matching speed when safe. Keep the phone out of your hand. Give pedestrians the right of way and give yourself extra space near crosswalks and corners. Build following distance like it's invisible insurance. Review your medications with your doctor or pharmacist with driving in mind. And if you ever get a citation, don't just absorb it in silence. Learn your options, meet deadlines, and protect your record because your record protects your budget. Now I want to end with something I hope lands gently but powerfully. Aging in America can sometimes feel like the rules change and nobody tells you until you're punished for it. But you are not behind. You are not too old to learn. You are not alone. You are a person with decades of experience and wisdom, and you deserve to keep your independence with dignity. If driving is part of your freedom, then staying informed is not fear, it's self-respect. Comment your age and your biggest struggle so I can make the next video fit your life. And remember this, you don't have to live small to be safe. You just have to live smart, supported, and confident because you still have options and you still have time to protect what matters.